the only show that's 3 dimensions away from me having 40 holes. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. Antman and the Wasp Quantumania is the latest entry in the MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in the third installment in the Ant-Man saga. The movie is a continuation of Avengers Endgame and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and this time around is set years after Endgame, and this time around Scott Lang is trying to cope with his, he's basically, while all the other Avengers that survived Endgame are struggling to adapt to their new lifestyle because either being gone for so many years or being like have loved ones lost to the snap. They're basically, of course, he is having the greatest time of his life. He has a podcast, he wrote a book, everyone loves him, although some people think he's Spider-Man and not Ant-Man. But it's still adjusting, adapting. He realizes because he's been gone, his daughter has been doing the things he did when he was younger. And so now that, he tries to, of course, consult with her and everything and, talk her down into this, and then of course she'll working with, Hank Pym, and then they get all sucked into the quantum realm. And then chaos ensues where they meet MODOK and Kang the Conqueror. The movie is directed by Peyton Reed and is written by Jeff Loveness and stars Paul Rudd once again, Evangeline Lilly, Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, Catherine Newton, Corey Stoll, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michael Douglas. The movie is like, this is a different entry. Some people compare it to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I was comparing it to Tron Legacy. And this movie, I've heard a lot of people being divisive about this movie. Some people dislike it, some people like it, some people don't like it. I'm in the middle. There's a lot of things I like about this movie, and there's a lot of things I don't like about the movie. I actually do think this is not the worst thing that Phase 4 has done. This is not. Okay? This is actually a pretty good movie, I think. Okay? I actually don't think this is as bad as She-Hulk. I don't think this is mid like Moon Knight or Ms. Marvel. I don't think this is way better than WandaVision, but I do think it's pretty good. Like, honestly, I would like to own this on 4K. I can't wait to rewatch this again because there's a lot of things I like about this. Like, for one thing, is I really like how it starts out. I think how it starts out is great. I think how the scene starts out is, Ant-Man's just having a great time of his life. Like, when you see Hawkeye, he's struggling to adapt to, like, the Thanos was right and all this stuff. This is great to see someone else, like, how he's like, oh, I'm having a great time. I get free coffee because they think I'm Spider-Man. I wrote a book. I'm, like, popular. I mean, it's just so great, compared to everyone else where it's just brooding and suffering. I think that's really great how it starts out because we see it, how it starts out, and then it just, like, it kind of feels like, and then he has to go through this, like, journey, and I think that's really great. Like, it didn't start where he's brooding and everything. Even though his life, he thinks it's all going great, like, he realizes that even though he's having a great life, his daughter is not, and I think that's what makes it really great. And I will say, I really like that, and I really like the villain. The villain in this movie I thought was great. This is probably my favorite villain of Phase 4. Like, Kang the Conqueror is fantastic. Like, when we saw introduced him in Loki Season 1, where he was like He Who Once Was, and then, like, his variant, and then, of course, Kang is, when I first heard Jonathan Majors was cast, because I watched Lovecraft Country, and I thought he was great in that, and when I saw him in Loki Season 1 in cameo, I was like, wow. Can't wait to see what he does as Kang. When I saw the statue at the end of Loki Season 1, I was like, oh wow, this is going somewhere. And then I see him, and how he is just, like, really badass. Like, when you see, my favorite scene about it is I love the flashback and the chemistry he has with Michelle Pfeiffer. And I felt like, that really is something that I really like about the quantum realm and stuff, like how he's trapped there, and it kind of connects directly to Loki Season 1. And I like that aspect of it, where he's like, okay, we know how he gets there to the quantum realm. We know he needs to get back because he gets a hold of time, and then it's just so great. That's one thing I really like about Kang. I really like, and there's a great fight scene at the end where he's trying to get to, like, inside the portal, but we know if he gets inside, goes back to our world, he's going to destroy timelines, and that's great. That's what I cannot wait for Kang Dynasty, because I cannot wait to see that. I really like that. I also like MODOK. I know some people were divisive about this character. I like that they brought back the villain from the first movie. That it feels like it goes full circle. I like that they brought back Darren Cross as, which Corey Stoll plays, as MODOK. I like how he's like, now MODOK, like, Darren? And he's like, no, there is no Darren, only MODOK. And I'm like, oh, that's such a Ghostbusters reference. I like him as MODOK. I did not like the CGI. Yes, I'm gonna just address that. Yeah, I did not like the CGI. I thought they could have, if Marvel would have had more time on this movie, we could have had a better CGI. Because I mean, Thanos looked fantastic, and MODOK does not. I did think I liked his character. You know, I thought it was great that they brought him back. That was the mostly thing. I think some parts of his character I did not like. I thought it was just he played off too goofy or too corny. But I did like some parts of MODOK. Certain mass aspects about MODOK I liked, and some things I didn't. I have a MODOK figure from from the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game that I'm a really big fan of MODOK. Cassie, I like the new actress that plays Cassie. I thought she was really good. She wasn't annoying. She was actually pretty well done, and it was not like she was just there to be there. It was actually she had a purpose there, and I really liked that. I liked the bond between her and Scott. I thought that was great. I thought it worked well that she has a bond with everybody, and that she basically, she's there to has a purpose in her story, and that how she wants to to help these people, and like while Paul Rudd's like, let's just get the fuck out of here. I thought that was really great. I like that aspect about her and how she has a role in this. I also felt like the Quantum Realm thing was fun. I felt like we got to see this universe, like we teased it up in the last 2 or 3 movies, in Endgame, and they teased it in, of course, Antman the Wasp and Ant-Man. And I like that we got to see this whole Quantum Realm thing. And it feels like this movie does come full circle from the first movie. And also, there's some whole jokes in the movie where it's like there's a character that David Smallston played in the first 2 Ant-Mans. He plays as a CGI character where he's like, how many holes do you have? And I just started laughing, and he's like, 7. And there's also this one guy who's like a telepath, and he the actor from The Good Place, and he could just tell everything. He's like, stop thinking that, nigga, stop. Okay, I'm not really. It's just every time he could tell. To me, them jokes made me laugh. Those jokes, and the Spider-Man joke at the beginning where I was, thank you, Spider-Man. And he's like, and then at the end when he's like, he says, Ant-Man, okay, is it done? And then he asks him for money. Now, those jokes that made me laugh, those are what made me laugh. I actually got a chuckle out of that. Alright, now things I did not like about this movie was, I didn't like the fact that only Agent Wu was only in the movie for like a minute. Like, he was in the big part in Ant-Man 2, but I did laugh at the joke that they went out for brunch finally. I was like, they got brunch finally. But even though he's only in there for 1 second, I'm sure we're going to see him again. But I was like, let's see him for longer than that. I'm sure maybe there's a scene on the cutting room floor that they cut out. But it was at least great to see Randall Park. The CGI, I touched on CGI on MODOK. I felt like the CGI on MODOK could have been better. Like Thanos, if you look at Thanos, looks great. And then this it felt like, I understand they were trying to focus more on the quantum realm and everything else, and they just didn't have enough time. And that's the one thing I want to gripe about with Marvel. They need to just take a break. Do not just stop. Don't make like 5 or 6 projects a year. Do 3 a year and that's it, okay? 2 movies and a Disney Plus series and that's it. Do animation the rest of the season if you need to fill up your Disney Plus quota. Do not keep forcing CGI artists to overextend them. Do not overextend them, because you're going to get results like this. That is the problems with She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Thor: Love and Thunder. All these people have been having these issues on these movies. My biggest fear is that they're going to start eventually. We're not going to be able to. We're going to have to go like to matte paintings and stuff, because they're just like, we don't have enough time. I really wish they'd go back to more practical stuff, because it feels like everything in this movie, Marvel's just focusing on CGI. It's like even Spider-Man's costume is CGI now. I'm like, back in like 2003, they didn't even have CGI for a costume. They were just like, all right, Toby, put the suit on. I just think that's ridiculous. I think Marvel sometimes is doing this shit on purpose. I feel like sometimes they're just literally doing it because, well, instead of hiring someone to build the costume, we'll just CGI it. And I'm like, dude, just put the fucking costume, build the fucking costume, okay? You're gonna save yourself like $10 million. Seriously, that just irks me about the CGI. That's my one gripe about Marvel, is that they just don't care, and then they bully and harass these people and threaten to not work with them, the CGI artists, if they don't finish in time. And it's like, and they get shitty CGI, and then people are complaining. If you look at Pirates of the Caribbean, Davy Jones, CGI, Avatar, Thanos, those are great CGI moments, and we wouldn't have great CGI characters in these movies if they would not try to rush it out, okay? If you need to push a movie, push a movie. If you need to, delay something or reshoot something, it's fine. Just delay it. Do not sit there and try to rush it out to make a quota. That's not, okay? Focus on quality, not quantity. Okay, that's my rant on that, okay? Also, I just felt like the ending felt tacked on. Like, the ending just felt to me like it was a tacked on ending, because it felt like I'm sitting there watching it, and it just felt like once they like defeated Kang and they jumped in there, it feels like that's how it ends. Like, you see the portal in the background after they defeated Kang, and they see the portal back. It felt like that just ended. And I'm like, the screen goes black. I'm like, oh, it's over. And then you get the new like Paul Rudd walking down the street, living happy. I feel like that was a reshoot, because it does not. Because I saw like around March or so they were shooting a new ending, and so around like February or so they were shooting a new ending, and I'm like, I feel like they had this was again how it ends, but then they decided, let's add a better ending, which I'm glad if they did, because I would hate for them to this just to end like that. That would have been, to me, anticlimactic. And so I like it this way. I mean, this was much better, I feel like. Also, this movie is very much a ripoff of Tron Legacy. Like, seriously, like, really? This movie is really a ripoff of Tron Legacy. Like, if you think about it, it's kind of like getting sucked into the game in Tron Legacy. They have to go around in Tron Legacy, and then, of course, at the end, they got to stop evil, like, Kevin Flynn from getting out, which I think his name was Clue? Which is, I just call him Evil Kevin Flynn, because he's just Evil Kevin Flynn. You guys to stop Evil Flynn from getting out, and it's just like in Kane to Conquer. I did like how Jonathan Majors was trying to get out, and Evangeline Lilly comes through there and starts shooting at him. I thought that was pretty cool, but I'm like, this is exactly from Tron Legacy. This is exactly a ripoff of Tron Legacy. I'm like, this is exactly a ripoff of Tron Legacy. But it was still a cool scene, even spoilers, by the way, Kang gets destroyed. I just thought that was like, I didn't believe that for 1 second. I'm like, he's going to be back. I guarantee you. I guarantee you he's going to be back. They're not just going to kill him off like that. And I was kind of confused by the Citadel of Kangs. I just thought the Citadel of Kangs made no sense to me. I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, there's 1,000 Kangs, and they're all, like, because in Loki, he says, I built all these evil Kang, he who once was built all these other Kangs versions of himself. And so, like, he built all these versions. Like, so you're telling me he built one that's blue, he built one that's an alien, he built one. I mean, I was like, and also, they don't have the same personality. Like, it just, to me, I like, because I was like, didn't Kang build, like, versions of himself to be evil? I don't know. That was just some things I was like, okay, so which one was the real Kang? Was that, if he wasn't the real Kang, are one of them the real Kang? I mean, because I know he once was is technically the real Kang, but, like, he said he created a version of himself, the second Kang, which I would refer to as the second Kang. Which one's the second Kang? Was the one in the quantum realm the second Kang? Those are just questions I had. I know they're just stupid questions. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. But, like, I always wonder which one was the second Kang. I know the first Kang was the one that was killed Loki. Which one was the second Kang? Was it the one that was killed Antman? I just want to know that. That's the only thing I was confused about. But other than that, I really enjoyed this movie. Can't wait to buy it on Blu-ray and watch it again. When it comes out on Disney Plus, watch it again. I thought it was a fun movie. It's not a great film, but I mean, it's a fun time. Like, I just wish the CGI was better, and I wish that, the story was not a ripoff of Tron Legacy, but it was still a fun movie. I would really watch it again. Love Kang. I can't wait to see what Kang does in the future going forward. And also, and I think that I really want to say one thing. Loki, I hate when Marvel puts scenes from other movies in their post-credit scenes. I like it when they just put scenes that lead into something. I don't want that. Like, they put a scene for Loki season 2 in there. I'm like, I hate that, because it's like, because then when I go watch this, like, in 20 years from now, I'm going to be like, oh, that's a scene from Loki. Why didn't they just add their own scene? Like, I like how in Thor, at the end of Thor, they had a scene where Professor Salvik is looking at the Tesseract, and you see Loki luring by the Tesseract, and like, okay. And then you sets it up for Avengers. I wish they would start doing scenes like that again. I don't like when they just take trailers or scenes and put it in there. Like in No Way Home, when they put the Doctor Strange trailer, I'm like, I can watch that on YouTube. Why would you put that in the post-credits? I want to see a scene that sets up other movies and projects. I don't want to watch a scene from a fucking movie that I'm going to watch in 10 months. But that's all I'm at in that. But I still enjoyed this movie. It's a fun movie. If I had to give it a grade, it is a solid B-. Thank you so much.